11th Hour on Radio Sri Lanka, the program that illustrates the rediscovery of the glitz and the glam of the nation's most prominent entertainers and eminent personalities from the corporate sector. Join us
on every Mondays
at 11 a.m. exclusively on Radio Sri Lanka, 97.4 and 97.6 FM island-wide. A very good morning to all our dear listeners listening to Radio Sri Lanka, yet another program which is 11th Hour of course. It's certainly no secret that Instagram has an incredible reach. This could be the reason why almost every business has willingly connected with the Instagram marketing bandwagon, and we transparently understand why. Leaving all the speculations aside, there is some true potential and value in Instagram. And the businesses that are taking the plunge are quickly seeing results rapidly. Most enterprises on Instagram report that it's their most engaging social media platform, undoubtedly. We have invited Saasha Karunarathne about her presence in social media. A very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
Instagram certainly has a major potential to bring awareness to a chosen brand, and you don't always have to pay celebrity prizes to be seen in any form of video. We have to accept that the channel is growing fast. What inspired you to engage with this platform?
It started off very organically for me. So my career, ever since I was about 17, was to be a TV presenter. That's where I started off, and it was sort of this organic transition into, back when I started it was just Facebook, so everyone had a Facebook account, and then with Instagram sort of picking up speed, it was just like for personal use, you know. But then with my presence on television growing, so did my Instagram. And then later on towards the, I'd like to say maybe 2015, 2017, it started becoming sort of a side avenue of my career as well. And then so I realized, okay, so this is now a marketing platform as well, not just for my brand, but for other brands to market their products and their services on my platform. And that's sort of how that journey started for me.
And what sort of brands and companies actually started engaging with you initially, if you could recall?
Gosh, that's so difficult. I really honestly can't remember. I think at the time what was really, popping on Instagram were restaurants and doing food reviews. I remember there, one of the OG Instagram influencers in Sri Lanka was this girl called Zainab, Queen Bey, I think her title was, on Instagram. And she did really well on Instagram with food reviews. And that's sort of, I'm pretty sure it was probably a restaurant or something along those lines.
Since that would have been the topic that was catchy during that
and
period.
Remember there was a time on Instagram where you had to post sort of aesthetic food pictures. It was about the food mostly. So I think I'm pretty sure that those were some of the first, brands that reached out.
Right. In your perspective, what is influencing marketing, and how did you create a strategy to develop the influencing marketing arena?
The word influencer gets a bad rep. A lot of people don't, they see it as sort of, it's in many ways the new age reality star, I feel, is how I would like to phrase it. Yeah. It has the same appeal as, all those people we used to follow on reality shows back in the day on TV, but now it's just transformed into social media and Instagram, where we're following their daily life. We want to know, the dirt, and we want to know what's going on.
Which is majorly
it's problematic.
Looked anticipated rather.
Yeah, it's problematic, but it is what it is. It's human nature to want to know about other people.
Especially in this nation island.
Absolutely. Influencer marketing itself is just, I see it as almost like a billboard with personality. It's just advertising. very recently, one of my friends from school, we met up after like years and years, and he was asking me, he was like, what makes influencers so important? Like, what's the point? What is the point of, what do you do? And then I was like, you're talking about such a massive industry. You're talking about the advertising industry, but you're looking at it through the eyes of like a very narrow, you're looking at it through a narrow lens. Because it's advertising at the end of the day. It is it's an opportunity for brands to advertise their products with the personality and the brand image of someone that people like. People who are following other influencers on Instagram, they're only following them because they either like them or they want to know more about them. So there's interest there. And people want to know what these people have to say. So that is influencer marketing to me. It's where, an already existing person of interest is on social media. And influencer marketing is just the business side of it.
Mm-hmm. Social media as a whole is becoming an important interaction mode, which is undeniable. Do you think we have utilized this so-called social media spacing to the fullest capacity for business creativity-based creations?
Absolutely not. But I think we're getting there. I see a lot of brands and companies really putting in quite a lot of effort and time into their social media marketing. I currently own a social media marketing agency where we basically create content for corporate brands. So with that, it started off because it just organically kept coming to me. People just kept coming. Like when I work with a lot of brands, they're like, hey, can you handle our Instagram? Can you handle our TikTok? Can you just produce the content for us there? A lot of them, I don't use my personal face. It's just, it's a business. But along the lines of whether companies are utilizing the platform enough, not yet, but they're getting there. They're understanding how significant it is. They're seeing how many millions of eyes are on social media. So I think it's definitely getting there. And it's a good way for brands to really put numbers. Like there's statistics there. You can check how many people clicked, how many people saw, how many people liked this, how many people didn't. It's there. Statistically, it's there. You get the insights. Whereas you can't do that with a television ad, a billboard ad. You don't have a return on like exactly how many people actually saw or how impactful it was.
I'm a little inquisitive to know. What sort of corporates reach out to you when it comes to brands where they believe in this kind of marketing platform?
Everything. I work with fashion brands, I work with supermarkets, I work with hospitals, because you can utilize it any way you want. You can create fun, quirky stuff. You can go into an educational space and create educational content.
Are they accepting this method of marketing? Because
Absolutely.
It's always the traditional old school method that we tend to still follow. But then again,
I get what you mean, but now, with the workplace now, it's a lot of millennials in the workplace now, and they know how important social media is. It's harder for them to get approvals from their bosses for this sort of thing, and
that's why I'm grinning away here.
It's harder for them to sort of communicate the idea or the concept of this to their bosses, who might be from
how effective it is
exactly from maybe the boomer generation or the Generation X, but still, the millennials are really pushing this because they are now the main workforce at the moment, and they get it. So they really do. And the thing is, you can get with social media, because everybody's on it, people talk. So the second one of their bosses hears from someone else, hey, I saw that video on Instagram of your brand, then they're like, then it's working.
So the results definitely does show.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you see the social media impacts on adolescents' well-being, and please suggest how to minimize the health-based risk in the terms of behavioral patterns, since you're representing the youth?
That is a bit of a place of concern. I think with most things, just like with most things, it's a matter of control, discipline, because at the end of the day, self-discipline. If you're talking about kids, I think the parents play a large role in sort of managing how much time your kids spend on social media. And it's not just a matter of micromanaging. I hope parents don't do that. But I'm not one to speak. Don't take advice from me.
You're just sharing your opinion, of course.
But it's just like TV back in the day. Like my dad used to be so annoyed at me for watching TV all the time. But then, I'm a perfect example of how my interest in television and watching TV and cartoons and commercials translated into my career. That is my career now because I was so obsessed with television back in the day. But that's just, one of the best case scenarios. But then again, same thing with social media. I think it's about sort of a lot of social media platforms now allow for family management or like parent management on those social media platforms, so you can pick and choose what types of content your child is seeing and how much time they're allowed on those platforms. So they're
it's
helping.
A two-way link.
Yeah, they're helping. But again, you can't really protect your child 100% from everything that's on the internet. There's just too much. It's not humanly possible. But what you can do, I believe, is sort of
have a close eye.
Armor your child with the right discipline, and maybe talk to them quite often about what the impact of these things are, and hopefully they'll be able to judge for themselves.
Certainly, yes, and perfectly said. True enough. Once you have a presence on Instagram, you may want to look into the advertising options, which will certainly increase your business potential. Everyone loves and embraces a good social media hack or a motivational tip. If you're ready to get started in building and creating your Instagram profile, I'm certain today's conversation will be an added boost for creating the same. And thank you so much for being on the show, Saasha.
Thank you so much for having me, Sabrina. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Definitely a pleasure as well talking to you through 11th Hour. And I'm Sabrina Zawahi signing off. 11th Hour on Radio Sri Lanka, the program that illustrates the rediscovery of the glitz and the glam of the nation's most prominent entertainers and eminent personalities from the corporate sector. Join us
on every Mondays
at 11 a.m. exclusively on Radio Sri Lanka, 97.4 and 97.6 FM island-wide.